I was indulging in some Wolf Among Us 2 excitement, and was struck by how much better the combat looked. Not looked to play necessarily, just how it looked. I concluded it was because the motion capture actors had more budget, and was content to leave it there. But my brain wouldn't drop one little thought. Wow, mocap actors are seriously underrated. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and the similarities with other creative industries. So in this video I'm giving a massive shout out to the unsung and unheard performers of our video games. We'll probably touch on some film creative talk too, so stick around. You might just learn something. So let's start with the initial point of this video. Mocap actors are underrated. Are they? Well, being underrated is a bit of a subjective assessment, so let me put it to you like this. You ask an average gamer to name some voice actors, and you'll probably hear some Troy Bakers and Nolan Norths. Ask some more enthusiast gamers, and you'll get less high-profile answers and possibly voice actors from lower budget or indie games. Now, if I asked you to name me a motion capture actor, do you think you could? Some actors certainly can be mocap actors, both voice and screen actors, but can you name me one solely motion capture actor? Probably not. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Things happen behind the scenes on creative endeavors all the time, and a line has to be drawn as to where we give exposure, lest the guy who delivered the pizza to that one Pixar lunch get an interview on Piers Morgan Uncensored. But such an integral part of games these days is still completely under the radar. The thing is, their work is no doubt equally tough to make convincing as voice acting can be. You ever hear a screen actor talk about voice work?
Certainly voice is not my strong point. For people who come from a theater background, there is a lot of emphasis on the voice and they have ironed out the kinks. Me, I haven't had that sort of training, so I was a bit surprised when they even approached me. But I thought, what the hell, I'll give it a shot. I just went to see what it was all about, so I was a little on my left foot when we first started, and I guess I quickly adapted and we ended up having a laugh.
It's an entirely different class of acting. For these mocap actors, the actual performances can sometimes be done in different rooms, sometimes on different days. These actors' movements could have been captured with no context and as a separate piece. So in a scene with 5 movements, that's 5 completely separate performances, which are being slotted together by an animation team to create a cohesive picture. It's a testament to good motion capture when it looks seamless and you don't really notice it, and it becomes infamous and hilarious when it doesn't, and you do. Of course, it's not only the actors who are responsible. These motion capture actors are also working with a team of animators, who use the motion capture as reference material to help animate a character. As far as this discussion goes, it relates to the whole animation process. Discussing it as motion capture instead of the more broad animation term makes the video a bit more clear, I feel. Just know that these opinions are echoed for people in other aspects of animation. Make an award for Best Animation, Keeley. For those wondering, because I know some of you will be, the first game to ever use motion capture was the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 2, nearly 30 years ago. I compare the work that mocap actors do as similar to the work that stunt teams do on film sets. These people who handle the more physically demanding parts of a project. Obviously film stunts can be significantly more dangerous, but I think it's relative. I imagine plenty of voice actors would struggle to do some of the motion capture that modern games require. I say modern games require. In truth, no game really requires motion capture to be a success. In the same way, no film requires huge stunts to be a success either. These things are indulgences for creatives. Things we can't do without a lot of money and a lot of creative control most of the time. There are creative ways around this, but it's important to note that these things aren't right for all projects. But when you look at the higher budget releases, you notice that they all have mocap in common. The same is true of films and stunts. If this were the only dichotomy at play, I wouldn't mind. But when the industry itself doesn't respect them, that's when I start to get mardy. Sorry, that's East Anglian for annoyed. The most prestigious film award ceremony is by far the Oscars. There are categories for so many specific parts of filmmaking, from the direction, to the performances, to the music, the script, the editing, the sound mixing, the makeup, the special effects, the costume design, everything is considered, apart from stunt coordinators. The people who plan out and choreograph these dangerous, sometimes life-threatening moments. the people who source all the necessary components to ensure everything goes as safely and effectively as possible, the stunt actors themselves, putting their bodies on the line and their trust in other people's hands. Do they not deserve some recognition on the largest stage in cinema? I actually can't think of a single award that is specifically for stunt coordination teams from any award ceremony. And that's a real shame. The same's true with the Game Awards. Nominations for loads of specific aspects of game design, but no award for motion capture. To me, this is unfair to the teams making these things that we take for granted possible. Regardless of your personal value assessment of these award ceremonies, you can't deny that they carry a level of prestige, and to imply that stunt teams or animation teams or mocap actors aren't worth recognition carries with it the weight of mainstream indifference. And I would hate that. I'd hate that because it would mean all games would look the same as companies decide there are things that can be compromised. Suddenly these kinetic scenes would look a lot more stilted and, more importantly, they get a lot less safe. We really don't need to be making creative industries more dangerous, but that's the reality without knowledgeable and experienced, passionate and talented stunt coordinators and mocap actors. You might argue that adding these features would mean only the big budget or high profile projects get recognition and this is elitism bullshit. To which I answer, yeah, how is that any different from what today's Academy Awards is like? The knock-on positives of having these groups acknowledged with a specific award far outweigh the sadly realistic negatives that are inherent with these big money productions. As you may have noticed, I've added a little motion capture myself to this video. My friend Squid made the original hot dog blocker that I fell in love with during a game of Jackbox, and she happily indulged my slightly weird request to make the little guy the face of my channel. Her info's in the description, she's a really talented artist, and she's worth commissioning if you need something done. Oh, and of course, thank you to my Brad Pitt stand-in, Teal Game Master. He's an awesome guy and his channel will also be linked in the description. We're actually working on a really cool project, but that's if we can get it out before the scope of it just kills us both. But to conclude, remember that the performances you see are always more than the sum of their parts. Maybe stop to consider these things you barely consider until they fuck up, and appreciate the work that the guys did to paper over the cracks. This shit ain't easy, guys.
So, Ryder, big news. I think I found my purpose in life.
Oh yeah? What's that?
Thrashing you at poker?
To tell the truth, I'm not much of a player.
Yeah, me neither.
Clearly.